Welcome back to the Yoga Biz Champ podcast, and also welcome to season 6. We're kicking off January 2026 with one of my favorite kinds of conversations, sitting down with an experienced yoga studio owner who has lived through the real cycles of this business: growth, burnout, rebuilding, and learning how to do it better the second time around. Today, I'm joined by Aurielle Vendemmia, founder of True Moon Yoga and Fitness. Aurielle worked at the intersection of yoga, strength, and real-world movement. Her teaching blends heated yoga, strength training, Pilates-inspired movement, and nervous system awareness, all grounded in lived experience, not trends. She's opened multiple studios, scaled intentionally back to one boutique space, rebuilt after a serious injury, and designed a yoga studio culture rooted in boundaries, consistency, and sustainability, not hustle. This conversation is for studio owners who want their studio to feel better, to run, and who are ready to lead with clarity instead of exhaustion. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of Yoga Biz Champ, and it is season 6, and we're kicking off January 2026 with one of my favorite things, and that is getting to know an existing rocking yoga studio owner and getting to know them for the first time. So I want to welcome Aurielle Vendemmia from True Moon Yoga. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So we could have you introduce yourself, but I've been doing something lately where I've been having AI do a little bit of research and then reading it out. And then you can, you're into that?
No, I'm like, oh boy, what's coming up?
All right. Are you up for it?
Yeah, no, let's do it.
So Emily is one of those teachers who truly lives at the intersection of yoga, strength, and real-world movement. Her work blends traditional yoga, heated practices, strength training, Pilates-inspired movement, and nervous system awareness, all grounded in deep experience, not trends. How are we doing?
Oh, I like it.
Okay. Her path into yoga started back in the mid-2000s, and over the years, she's built and evolved studios, created signature class formats, launched online platforms, and developed teacher trainings that prepare people for the realities of teaching, not just the poses. A major turning point in her work came through personal injury and recovery, which reshaped how she approaches movement, resilience, and longevity in the body. What really stands out about Emily is that she's not trying to make yoga softer or harder. She's making it smarter. Her teaching is about helping people feel strong, capable, and supported, whether they're stepping into a hot room for the first time or deepening their practice after years on the mat. True Moon isn't just a studio. It's a movement ecosystem rooted in community, strength, and sustainability. And today we're diving into her story, how she blended yoga fitness without losing soul, and what she learned building something that actually lasts.
Wow, I really like that. Did you use
I'll use ChatGPT. Yeah. It actually did a whole bunch of research, and then I'm like, can you consolidate that?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a nice summary that didn't leave out like the important details.
Good. Yeah. And so I'd love to know sort of briefly, but what was your journey to studio ownership? So can you sort of tell me your path that got you to where you are? And also when you filled out the form, how many years in business you wrote forever? So.
Oh my God, forever. It feels like forever now. And that's what you say. Yeah. So I went to teacher training thinking maybe I wanted to teach yoga in 2006. And then I came home, and the county that I lived in did not have a yoga studio. So at that point, I was driving all the way north of Baltimore or all the way down to DC to take class, and especially heated, like I do, and I still always practice heated. So that it happened out of survival, really, because it wasn't sustainable for me to drive an hour each way, take an hour or an hour and a half class and then an hour back. Like it was too hard.
Yeah.
And I wanted somewhere to practice. So about a year and a half after graduating teacher training, I was like, oh, I'll open a studio. What's the worst that could happen? Like I
Yeah.
have somewhere to practice, I'll figure it out. And so it was the first studio to open in the county. And shortly after that, another one opened. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of studios now in Annapolis. But that sort of like shifted my path. And then I continued to open studios. So at one point, I had five, and I wouldn't do that again. That was a lot.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But
Yeah,
so
we
was it I'm just curious, was it within the area or
yeah, right, yes, it was pretty much all within like an hour radius.
okay.
Yeah, we can circle back to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of studio owners do that. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I just have one studio, True Moon Yoga,
It's the
and
original one.
it's not the original one. I actually opened True Moon. I just lost you there for a second. I opened True Moon 9 weeks before COVID.
Yeah.
It was the worst timing I could have ever picked. So I opened and we shut down 9 weeks later.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it was a doozy. So that's really kind of like I opened the studio because I needed somewhere to practice, and then I did enjoy it, and it kept growing, growing, growing. And then I found what made me happier was to circle back and have one smaller boutique studio and get really intentional with everything, the movement,
Yeah.
everything, the branding, the language, just the feel, just all of it.
What was your background? What was your background prior to teaching and studio ownership?
I was a massage therapist, and I still am, and I really do enjoy it. And all fitness just interests me.
Yeah.
I grew up, my dad was a tennis teacher. Both of my parents were very active and athletic. And before yoga, I was more in the gym. And I love going to the gym, but I was missing the mobility aspect. And so
Yeah.
already, like mid 20s was when I first opened my first studio. So I opened that studio in 2007. I knew then I needed to balance out the strength training with mobility and with yoga. And then for a long time, it shifted mainly to yoga.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's interesting you saying that because my mindset is more in, I just turned 59, so my body's not the same as it was before.
Right.
And I used to be all in on yoga and I still am, but it wasn't everything. Like I need the strength and the mobility on top of that. And can we circle back to what in the intro it said something about you
Yeah.
had injury? So did that injury give you your why?
It did. Well, it changed my why for sure. So in 2018, it was a crazy accident. I was driving home from one of the studios. My kids were in the back seat, and it was a very windy day. It was sunny. It was a pretty day, but it was super windy. And a tree fell on my car, knocked me unconscious. I drove off the road and hit another tree. Kids were totally fine. I was not fine. I broke my back in two places. I degloved my hand. So my left hand, I have 8 pieces of metal in it. They sent me, they couldn't fly me to shock trauma because the winds were too high. So they drove me quickly to shock trauma, and I was there for a couple days. And that kind of changed everything. I had a completely different view on life, but also rehabbing and coming out of that, I had to move my body a completely different way.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't go back to moving the same way, especially, I mean, I was in a neck brace for 12 weeks. I had to do occupational therapy on my hand for about 5, 6 months, like 3 times a week. It was brutal. So when that happened, I had already been doing like a little bit more weights and bands and sliders and still doing yoga, but I switched the intensity level and I got more specific with like using resistance bands
Yeah.
because I had to.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It was interesting. I say now, like I can look back, it felt like that was like the worst time of my life then. But now I look back and it helped me learn so many things. I can view it now as, yeah, that wasn't fun and I don't want to do it again, but that was a good turn. Like
Mm.
it was an eye-opening situation and that really like made me change gears.
So nervous system regulation seems to
Hmm.
be something important to you. Was that important prior to the accident, or did it become?
I could say I was aware of it, but I didn't understand how much your nervous system sort of like layers and affects everything. So I feel like I had just skimmed the surface. And since then, over the years, I've done more research, and especially in the last year or two, I've done even more research. And I mean, what I'm finding is, I've been practicing about 20 years now. I've owned studios for 19, and a lot of my clients that have followed me are now perimenopausal and menopausal, like we're changing.
Yeah.
And so I started doing a lot of research on movement, intentional movement, how that affects your nervous system, how that affects your hormones. And it just all kind of circles in like your gut health, your nervous system health, your hormone health. And I try to weave that in as much as I can with the studio because I want to support them in the time that they're in their life. And so that's what I'm seeing. A lot of the people that have been with me a long time, I had to recently switch movement because that's where we are.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting.
So is that something that you bring into your teachings, or that you bring into the ethos of the studio and the other teachers and the classes?
Kind of everything, kind of everything. The end of last year, I wrote a book and it has like a little bit of information on the nervous system. Right now, I'm working on a book and it is pretty much based on like your nervous system first. And if you support your nervous system, you'll get the look and the aesthetic you want, but you'll train smarter. And I
Mm.
think especially men and women, but especially as women, we have to train smarter
Yeah.
as we age because you can't do more. Your recovery is slower.
Yep.
There are so many different things happening. But a lot of what I do as well, I try to put that information more in my newsletter and more in my copy and more in just what language, we're using.
Yeah.
Don't do it. I do it a little bit on my personal social media, on the studio social media. It's not quite as much, but I have a lot of people that subscribe to my newsletter, and I try to go a little bit more in depth in my newsletter.
So back to the beginning, you launched this studio. So
Mhm.
before it became multiple studios and then one studio again. So tell me about that process of finding a space, putting a team together.
Mhm.
Did you, because there's different ways we throw ourselves into it and we learn how to do things, or we get guidance along the way to do this. How was your how did you set the systems up right away, or did they come later?
Oh my gosh, no, they came later.
Yeah, so it's like scrappy learning and
Oh yeah. I feel like the first studio was like held together like with a shoestring. No systems in place. Did not know what I was doing. I just dug my heels in and was determined. Yeah, the interesting thing then was there were no teachers. Because
yeah,
if you have yoga studios and you don't have local teacher trainings, you
yep.
have
It's a problem in a small community. Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah.
So no local teachers. So for the first couple years, teachers would come all over
So
from
your
the
teachers were doing what you did.
Yeah. They would come from all over the US, international, everything, and come stay with me. And they would live with me and teach for a month, 3 months, six, a
Oh,
year.
wow. Yeah.
One stayed for 2 years because there were no teachers here. And then that changed because more studios
Yeah.
opened in Maryland in general, and then our county, and that changed, and the community grew. But in the beginning, that was interesting. It really felt like starting from scratch, and I had no knowledge. There weren't many platforms at that point, 19, 20 years ago. It was kind of, you used index cards to
Yeah, me
track.
too. I had my studio. We've talked about
Oh
that
my
in the past.
gosh.
But yeah, like punch cards, like literal punch
Yeah.
passes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you either did that or MindBody had
Then mind
just
body. Yeah.
started, right? But it
Yeah.
was really bare bones and I feel
Yeah.
like fairly glitchy, and um it was interesting. It was real. Most people paid with cash or
We
check, and
launched around the same time then, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. But no, I had no business plan. I had nothing lined up. I just went went all
And
in.
with your schedule, because what I find a lot when I work with brand new studio owners that kind of just scrappily open, they sometimes put a schedule together based on the teacher availability,
Mm,
more than the audience needs. I'm wondering
right.
if that was how you started, or
Well, it was just me and one other teacher for a good stretch in the beginning. And I think I was open every day, but I had a class in the morning and I had a class at night. And I think I taught, there are 14 classes a week, and I taught 13 and she taught one.
yeah, yeah. So it was at the beginning, it was all about you.com, right?
It was. I was
Yeah,
like, wow,
yeah,
they're gonna really get tired of me.
yeah,
But they didn't. I don't know how they didn't, but yeah, that was, and two, when I feel like when you open and you don't have a business plan, your mindset is, how can I save as much money as possible?
yeah.
In the
Payroll.
beginning, you're like, well, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
teach them all, which that's not sustainable, of course, but at first it was fine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about that sustainability
Mm,
in a little bit, but if you were to tell a new studio owner now, if you were to give some solid advice of, that just opened, what's the main things that you would pass on?
my initial thought, and it might not be what other people would think, you have to have boundaries.
Hmm.
Because as a studio owner, when you open, you want to get to know everyone, and you want people to come, and you want to say yes, and you want to be flexible, and you kind of, you just want to make it easy, but it does backfire on you. And I
Yeah,
feel like I learned that from being in business now that long. You have to give yourself those work boundaries. So that my two initial thoughts are, have really good work boundaries from the beginning, because it's harder to like
yeah,
pull back and reset those,
yeah,
and have systems in place. Like, be okay with paying extra for the text automation, be okay with paying extra for like your social media, all that kind of stuff, because you can't do it all. Yeah, delegate.
yeah. Because that is, I mean, right. I was the same way as you, and a lot of the studio owners I work with are that way, and they're in there doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
But there comes to a point where your energy can't sustain
Mm-mm.
that,
No.
and it's a lot of outgoing energy too. And so there is that point where I feel like a lot of newer studio owners are fearful of investing in, let's say, front desk people, or fearful of investing um, in marketing if they're not good at marketing. So I feel like I'm all about whatever your superpower is, triple down on that. Whatever shit you hate, if it's bookkeeping, automations, whatever, pay for those. However, there needs to be an expectation. You're not just paying for things. There needs to be a return.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it
Can you
has
talk
to.
about that a little bit of kind of So that is having those expectations of roles. And so you're saying, like, I need to be boss. You need to be in boss mode right away. And I was the same way. It's firm and fair. Firm as in, these are the way I do things, but there's a fairness approach to it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's everyone's different, right? So there's some things that a studio owner has to do and they enjoy it and they're really good at it. And so let's say a studio owner, like they love social media, they're really good at it, they have fun with it,
Yep.
it's like a creative outlet, they love doing it. That makes them feel more connected to the studio. Do it. Do
Yep.
it. But I feel like anything that you hit a wall with and it takes you a long time to do and you don't enjoy it, it's in your best interest to hand it off. Because
Yeah.
then you can take your energy and you can put it into not only what you're good at, but what you want to do. And it's such a win-win then. So if your thing is you, you want to focus on teaching and you want to focus on maybe the language and the information going out, then just get super hyper focused on that. Write a list of what
Yep.
you don't enjoy doing and try to hand it off. And you
Because
do
they need to be done, right? I mean, even though you don't
have to
like
be
them, they
done.
still have to be done, the pieces.
Yeah, and you could enjoy all of it and you could have,
Yep.
the bandwidth to do it all, but as an owner, even if you have a ton of energy and you're making the time for it, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
At some point, because there's so many, you will basically leak your energy out. There's so many different, it's so
Yeah.
many small things with owning a yoga studio.
Can you tell me about your team structure now?
Sure. Yeah. So I have about 24 teachers. Some teach once a week, some teach twice. The most, I believe, is 4 or 5 classes a week. And that's kind of where I sit too. When I first opened, and even for the first couple years I taught a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And I love teaching. Like I still have to pull back and be like, no, let someone else, sub that class. Don't
Yep.
pull yourself back a little bit. Um, but everyone has a set schedule that's also different than what I did in the beginning. In the beginning,
Yep.
it just rearranged like constantly.
Yeah.
But the
So it's
last
consistent now.
Yeah, the last 6 years, it's been very consistent. It's like you have your day, you have your time. If you need to swap it, no problem.
Yep.
But I find, you know, as I've sort of grown, like I have children, but as I've grown, my younger teachers have grown and they've gotten married and they have kids or they're starting families. So that set schedule has been really helpful.
Yeah. And is the schedule built around the community's needs now? Like it
It is.
works? Yeah.
It is, even to the point, I'll communicate with them. And I'll also check like our county, the school schedule.
Yeah.
I'll ask
100%. Yeah.
I'll ask them the bus schedule, like, oh, what's the schedule looking like? Because all of that is really important to them, whether they can like get to class or not in time.
It's so important, isn't it? Like knowing
Hmm.
your audience ticks
Absolutely.
and their lives.
I do send out a survey regularly, usually once a quarter, and I try to make the question specific. So, and then I really do read through all of the answers. And of course, you can't do everything, and you can't
Yeah.
please everyone.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, it is an overall theme, and so then I will take that. We have an app, and I'll take the app and compare the analytics, and then that's how I decide how the schedule is going to look.
From data.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm a very emotional being.
Yeah, but you make but yeah, but I mean that
Yeah,
data, now that you have it in your tech stack, right? That data
yeah.
is important for making decisions. And so I know when I work with my studio owners, when we're planning the next year, like we're always way ahead. And when we're
Mhm.
planning the next year, we're looking at the data so that we
Right.
can the promotions or challenges or whatever, but it's being ahead based on real data.
Yeah, yeah, because it's, when it's your business, you do have that sort of emotional attachment
The,
to it.
the class feels good,
I know, right?
feels
Yeah.
warm and
You're like,
fuzzy.
oh, I don't want to let that one go, or I don't want to change this.
Yeah.
But you can't. When you look at the data, it's like, okay, this is what they want, and I want to give them what they
Yeah.
want.
Just want to go
Yeah.
back to your team. What do you hire people for? Like, do you have roles other than teachers? And the things that you hire out, what do you do?
Yeah, so I have my teachers. So my goal with my teachers has always been, since I opened True Moon the last 6 years, that they can come in and just focus on teaching. They can focus on the community, get to know people's names, all of that. And they don't have to do a whole lot more than that. A little bit of tidy up, nothing
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
I still do, and I bet you did this when you opened a studio too. I still do a bunch of work trade.
Hmm.
So
I
I
do.
trade memberships for help cleaning the studio, help putting signs up outside, all kinds of stuff like come up.
Can I come? Because there's a
Yeah.
caveat to that. Like, are there
Yeah.
expectations with that? Because sometimes when we do the work trade, there's not a lot of buy-in. Like,
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like over the years I've done it and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And
right.
I don't have a clear answer why. I would say the work trade that I have now, they're a little bit more mature and they're very
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
And before I would have, high schoolers or college students, and they were great, but like the consistency was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So I do have help in that way. And then I also have a part-time manager,
Okay.
and she is incredible. Like,
So, can you
she,
tell the listeners who haven't made that jump to front
uh,
desk help or manager help that you made a decision to invest money in somebody?
yes, yes. And I dragged my heels on that. It
Most
took
do.
Yeah, it took me a while. And I finally decided. I felt like I was drowning. Like I could not keep up with the amount of messages coming in because we do use a text automation.
Yep.
And I just would fall behind on the real simple things like restocking the toilet paper and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I finally made the decision, sat down, talked to her. She was thrilled, super excited to do it. And we got really specific with exactly what I was doing, exactly what she was doing.
Yep.
And
And
then
then
we
do you meet?
we meet every month, usually once a month, sometimes twice a month, if we feel like we didn't cover everything on the last
Yeah.
time that we
Yeah.
met. And a lot of it is sitting down and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she knows the direction that the studio is going in. Her
So she
heart is.
knows the goals and
And I would say, like, it's good to take a step back and be honest with yourself what you're not good at.
yeah.
I I'm organized, but I'm not organized to the level she is.
Right.
She's super organized. She's really tidy. She's good at organizing things. She's good at keeping track of things, so it's definitely worth it to hire a manager, but I would get specific with what you don't want to do, what isn't your strong suit, and that's okay because you have other things you're really good at.
Yeah. Can you give examples of what her role does?
Sure. Yeah, she's in charge of the work trade. She
Yeah.
takes care of the work trade. We use WhatsApp for messaging. I find that that's a
Yep.
little easier. So all the teachers are in WhatsApp. If there's any schedule changes, she does the schedule changes. We use LoopSpark. She responds back to LoopSpark messages. I have a freeze and cancellation form on our website. She takes care of all of that. She restocks everything. She does all the holiday decorating. I never did that. I think people thought I was the Grinch when I wasn't the Grinch. I just didn't have time. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't put up, stuff for Halloween or
Yeah,
Christmas or
the extra little, yeah.
no, because I was like, well, no, it's like, do I do my accounting or do I put up string lights? So she's great at that. She is really good at reminding me if I said I was going to get something done and I haven't gotten it done yet. And I need
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
She does a great job keeping me accountable, like in a very kind way. Like, hey,
Because it's a lonely place, studio ownership, right? It's like
oh,
nobody really understands this weird, wild world that we
mm,
chose.
yeah. I think from the outside, it's easy to look at a studio owner and be like, oh, they teach 4 classes a week. They must have the life.
Yeah.
And it's so much more. There's just so much behind the scenes.
Yeah. I want to read something here that you wrote. Let me find my notes here.
I cannot stress enough for those new studio owners that don't have a manager, even handing off like 5 to 10 hours a week. If you can afford to pay someone 5 to 10 hours and get really specific with what you can hand off,
Yeah.
you're going to feel so much better.
I think that's great advice.
Mm.
You wrote here, my main superpower is nervous system intelligence. I run my studio with an understanding of how people actually feel in their bodies and lives, not just how a schedule looks on paper. That means I design classes, communication, pricing, and even boundaries in a way that makes people feel safe, seen, and supported while still holding high standards. I can sense when the community needs structure, when it needs softness, and when it needs leadership. And because of that, people stay, teachers stay, students stay.
I think, it's interesting. Things fluctuate. A good example is through COVID. You know, I had to switch gears like so quickly.
Yeah.
So, so we opened, we closed, and then we were allowed to open. And we had a normal schedule outside for about 7 or 8 months until it was too cold. And then
Yeah.
we were able to go back in. So making people feel comfortable, making them feel safe. I try to pay attention when I'm in the studio. Like if it's a new student and they're like a little bit intimidated, I try to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I try to make sure that I say their name and I'm like, you're doing great. You can take breaks, you can sit down. It's not a competition. Just enjoy it. Like enjoy the heat, enjoy the music, just have a good time. Sometimes people just they need to feel part of a community
Yeah.
and they need to feel at ease and like they don't have to perform.
So that comes from you. How do you put that through to the rest of the team? Like,
Yeah,
how does your team leadership? Are you the team lead for the
I am.
teachers? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does what you want people to feel, how do you make that broader so the whole ethos of
Yeah.
the studio feels that?
So I communicate with the teachers a lot and they communicate with me a lot. And it does help. Our most popular classes are our sculpt classes. So weights, bands, sliders, definitely Pilates inspired and yoga weaves in. And so it's a set format. And even that format, I've structured it so that the beginning is very intentional and very grounding. And it gives people a chance to kind of just,
So
okay.
the class has a structure to it,
Mm-hmm.
so the teachers know that structure.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I train all of them. So our sculpt classes, I do the training for that and then I train them. And they have freedom and creativity within the class.
Yes.
but the beginning is very similar and structured, and the end is very structured, and then the
Yeah.
meat of the class is structured as well, but they can have a little bit of creativity with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I've said this a lot on the podcast, but my teachers knew what was included and what was not included. Like it was very, very clear that this was not a chaturanga sun salutation type of class unless it was taught in a teaching way, slow and steady. And but within that structure of like 5 minute warm up or meditation, 10 minute shavasana, they had freedom to be themselves. Um,
Sure.
but but I wanted the client expectation across the board to be the same so that somebody didn't feel ripped off in a shavasana or
Right. And it's the same way with the sculpt classes. The format isn't for me to be like, hey, you got to teach it this way.
yeah,
That's even like nervous system regulation, because if a student comes in and it's taught differently,
yeah,
they're like, what? That was kind of off, or I was expecting this and this
yeah,
happened or whatnot.
yeah,
But I find that if you're very consistent,
100%.
super consistent, but you're still authentic. They can still be creative, but it's very consistent with like we start on time, we end on time. This is the way that the
Yeah,
class feels. Then it puts them at ease. And then having that structure to the class, it also puts the teacher at ease, because then they're not kind of like winging it all the time. Like it's basically like, here's the shell. Now you have fun with it and get creative like
yeah.
within the shell. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that just started teaching in Vancouver at Equinox, I think Pilates, but she said it's very, very, very structured, but in a good way for the teachers. Whereas in most studios she'd been at, it wasn't in a good way for the teachers. But she said it's like they get really good feedback, but if they didn't do something in a way that is the way that they like it done for that, they get feedback. Can you make sure you do this next time? But she said it's done in a way that makes them feel empowered.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I was talking to teachers the other day, and something had come up, and I said, you have to like take a step back and act like you're a student. The most valuable thing is really their time.
Yeah,
People don't have enough time, right?
yeah,
So they're coming in to take class, and that's why we have to be so consistent and so intentional, and also, get to know them and welcome them into the community, because they are trusting us with their time. And I think
yeah,
that's huge. It's not
yeah.
only like,
I mean, we have to respect their time, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not just, the financial investment that they're giving us. I think for a lot of people, it's the time that's more valuable. So really being intentional with that time and supporting them is huge, because then that's where they'll come back, because they trust you. If it's not consistent and it's kind of all over the place, they can't really settle. Like their nervous system won't
yeah,
settle, they won't feel comfortable in this space. And then that's when you see people like bouncing around like a lot.
yeah. You mentioned, I'm going to read something else you said, because you mentioned before that, like me, you started with it being all about you.com and then going, okay, this is not sustainable. It's also not sellable. Right. And so I taught 5 classes in the end, and they're the ones that filled my cup. And so
Mhm.
I kept those ones, but I also designed it so around my life energy as well. But I'm just going to read what you wrote. Uh, I want studio owners to know that burnout is not a badge of honor. If your business only works when you're exhausted, overgiving and constantly available, then it's not actually working. It's extracting from you. The most sustainable studios I've seen are led by people who respect their own nervous systems first. That means clear boundaries, fewer but better offerings, honest pricing, and communication that doesn't over explain or apologize. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You need to be regulated, clear, and consistent. When you lead from that place, your students feel it immediately and they trust you more, not less.
I think when you're a new studio owner, your mindset is you want people to come. And so, you'll be a little flimsy with your boundaries, but it helps when you niche down and you get really specific. And the thing is, you will lose people
Yeah.
because not really your people. Like there's somewhere else that they can go that they will enjoy
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
We're a fully heated studio. If you don't like to sweat, I'm not going to try to convince you to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's as a young studio owner, I did that. I was like, no, it's so good for you and you should do it.
Yeah.
And now it's just coming from such a different place. It's like, okay, this is what we offer and this is what we do. And yes, I believe in it and I love it. And, our students get great results and it's a great community. But it's okay for you not to be everyone's cup of tea, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think that's a hard thing for new studio owners to, you're not intentionally turning people away, but getting super specific with your branding and what you're offering, you will attract the right people and they will lean into you, the teachers and the students. You'll attract the right people. They will love on you. They'll help build your community with you instead of like trying to convince someone to come when maybe you're
Mm.
not the best fit for them. I think that was one of the hardest obstacles as a young studio owner to figure out. That was difficult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the self-regulation important too, right? So that you're there to be able to do all the other pieces that need to be done.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, when you are trying to do everything as a studio owner, you do get burnt out. Your nervous system is shot and you're on edge. You, you could tell like with a studio owner if they're completely overworked, they don't have enough time to practice. They
Yeah.
don't have, they don't have enough time to rest.
Yeah. Stop
I'm
taking
getting-
classes even and learning.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not right. Because and and you have to, show compassion for them. They are toast. They're
Yeah.
completely overworked. And it's not like a little bit overworked. It's like years of being overworked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a difficult thing to let go of some of those jobs as a studio owner, but it's not sustainable to do them all.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's honestly, it's just great advice. Just everybody really needs to hear that.
Mhm.
I want to give some real practical advice to studio owners. What's one of over the years you've learned, and you've learned how to do marketing for your studio, I'm sure.
Mhm.
What's one of the best promotions that works for you?
That's a really good question. I love having lots of auto pays, of course, because that's
Yep.
recurring revenue and
Yep.
that makes your nervous system feel safe.
It does. Yeah. Rent's covered. Payroll's
Right.
covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always work for people, and I get it. So something that I do if people cancel their auto pay is I send them an email that says, "Hey, I totally get it. Like life gets busy and unlimited isn't always the
Yep.
right option. You can always come back to it, but if you want to buy a class card, here's a code for our app and it's like 15% off any class card." And that actually works really well.
Good one. Yeah. So that's set up because you're using your tech stack is Fit Degree and Loop Spark for your marketing. And
Correct.
so is that set up as an automation?
It is. So
Yeah.
it's set up and I do like nothing really.
Yeah.
I will personally email people. If there's someone that's been practicing with me for years and I'm like, hey, I haven't seen them in a while. This
Yep.
just happened and I saw the student this morning. He got really, really sick and had to like get tubes in his ears and like all kinds of stuff. I sent him a message, like I checked in. I do think that's the other thing. If you hand off some of the other jobs,
You can do
you
the.
you can do that kind of stuff and
Now, do
which
you set that up as an automated task? So when somebody hasn't been coming, you get a notification, or is that just something you dive into the?
you can automate that in Loop
Yeah.
Spark, but a lot of times I'll just notice, I'm like, I haven't seen this person
Yeah.
in a moment,
Yeah.
and I check in. And I
Yeah. That's
like,
harder to do when you scale, though, right? When you've got like the 5 studios
oh
and
my, you can't. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I would say if you have multiple studios, that's going to be too difficult. I have such a small, tight like community now.
Yeah.
Um, but that little, that coupon within the app is super, super helpful. We also do twice a year, flow with a friend. And so they can bring in, it's usually February and October. And then the nice thing
Is
is
that low
once
attendance times? I'm just curious.
no,
No.
no. The crazy thing is it's really not, but I just for some reason I picked those months.
Okay.
But February is good and October is good too. In Annapolis, the only time it's low attendance is June, July, and August.
Yeah.
And I think it's just vacation.
Yeah.
But we do the flow with a friend, and the intro isn't free, it's half off, but we get a ton of new people through the doors then.
Yeah.
And that works really well too. And then that triggers Loop Spark to like send them a message as well,
Yeah.
you know, giving them more information.
One of my early learning things was that you always have to feed new people into the business.
Have to.
It never ends.
No, no, you definitely do. You need new people constantly.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've got a few final questions for you.
Oh.
I'd love to know something about you most people wouldn't know about you.
Huh. Most people wouldn't know about me. I was gonna say I can hold a handstand for like a minute and a half in the middle of the
Ah,
room, but I think maybe most people do know that now. So one of the thing with my hand having the 8 pieces of metal in it, a
yeah.
goal that I made for myself I'll be able to hold a handstand and like hold it solid. So I hired a handstand coach in New York and I started training with him a year after my car accident. I've been training with him for like 6 years.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so maybe that's what people don't know about me. I
Yeah,
have a
that's
handstand coach.
that's super cool. What's your favorite business tool, website, or app?
Ooh, I mean, switching, and I'm not just plugging Fit Degree here, but switching from Mind Body to Fit Degree and having a branded app, that changed my business. It
Yeah.
really did. Massive change. I applied for a grant, got the grant, wasn't that much. It was like 2,600. I took all that money into getting the app through Fit Degree and transferring all that information over. Best business decision I think I've ever made.
So the branded app really works for you as well
Oh my
for,
gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
With the
yeah.
announcement board, you can like make friends on the app, all of it, all the tools insanely helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. What's your personal go-to website or app for fun?
For fun. Oh, I've kind of been addicted to Pinterest lately and like
Oh, so many studio owners say that.
I never used to be into it, but now I like make outfits on it and now that I'm not working 24/7.
And finally, if you were a yoga pose, which would you be and why?
Oh gosh, I think it would have to be the handstand. And
Yeah.
why? It's super grounding.
Yeah.
Super grounding, stable, unwavering, and just kind of fierce.
Yeah. What a great goal to have to. Yeah, I mean, that's such a great goal after losing your hand basically and then having
I
to have it
know.
rebuilt. And then that's a fantastic goal.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I sent a picture to the hand surgeon. This is great hand surgeon. He's like, "Wow, I didn't know if you'd be able to do it."
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. Fun process.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and great information for other studio owners and wannabe studio owners. It's definitely an interesting path we choose. So, how do people find you?
You could go to truemoonyoga.com, or you can look me up on Instagram. It's Emily Aurielle Vendemmia. Yeah, those are the two best
Great.
options.
We'll put them in the show notes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for tuning in, champs. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to this channel. It means a lot. And if you're ready to open your own studio or grow your current one, visit yogabizchamp.link/YouTube to book your free strategy call with myself and explore my Starter Studio and Grower Studio packages. And you'll also get access to all of my free Yoga Biz Champ resources, yogabizchamp.link/YouTube. And you can check out other insights and follow me on all social media platforms at Yoga Biz Champ. See you next time.